What's up, guys and gals of the movement world? It's Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, coming to you once again on behalf of Football Beyond the Stats in our Movement Play of the Week, this week for Week 13 of the 2022 National Football League season. And this week feels like one that we've been building up into with Justin Fields. Justin Fields has been on an absolute tear, particularly with his work that he's been doing on his feet and making people miss, running away from people, putting people on his posters all season long. It actually truly feels as though Justin Fields is kind of taking over where Lamar Jackson did when he won the Mover of the Year a number of years back in 2019. However, really what we're seeing from Justin Fields is his truly authentic nature, but he's also beginning to find this really functional and skillful fit, this practical fit to how it is that he sees the world and how it is that the movement solutions emerge based on those affordances, aka those opportunities that exist out there for him. And really, when we get into this play, we're going to see this on a number of different levels or layers. This is truly layered movement problem solving at its finest from Justin Fields here in Week 13 against the Green Bay Packers, the division rival in the NFC North. Realize and remember, we're in December now. Obviously, we're at the tail end of the National Football League season already, or at least the final quarter of the season here coming up. And that means that in December football, some teams and some players are starting to show really who they are. And of course, both of these teams are not what they would want to be. The Chicago Bears sitting at 3-9, and the Green Bay Packers sitting at a very surprising 4-8, particularly with their defense not necessarily playing up to snuff, or at least what we've come to learn or find from the Green Bay Packers defense over the last number of years. But that being said, let's not downplay that, which what Justin Fields does here on this respective day. When we look at this, let's also remember this game is taking place at Soldier Field. Soldier Field in December, the field isn't exactly the most conducive to someone being able to get their footing, to being able to make sharp, decisive actions. But if you're on the offensive side, you are at a slight advantage. Sometimes that slight advantage turns into a significant one when you know where it is that you're going, how it is that you might go there, and the defender is sort of on a string along for the ride. Remember, behavior affords behavior, but the advantage here goes to the offensive skill player. When the footing changes, so does the affordances or the opportunities. Now, a more skillful mover is able to adapt their movement solutions across situations and across conditions. These conditional changes being footing in this case. So we're going to find that Justin Fields is maybe able to change the information he's picking up or how it is that he's intending to act and ultimately what unfolds through those actions. So let's go ahead and get into the play, watch it at 100% speed here, 100% speed a number of times through, and we're going to be able to glean a lot even from this 100%. However, when we really dive into the nuances here, the subtleties, as Justin Fields does his dance there in the end zone and kind of gets his swag on, and he has every right to do exactly that because right now he is a one-man movement show. So we're going to watch this a couple times through here. Again, RPO, where Justin Fields is given the opportunity to make those decisive actions or to make those decisions based on what he's seeing, what he's prospectively controlling, and in the moment is the world as its best model, what opportunities exist out there for him to go interact with. What affordances he's perceiving, what affordances he's ultimately selecting, and how he's interacting with those affordances or opportunities. So one more time here at a 100% speed before we get into the nuances and the subtleties at 50% speed as we typically would. And really where we're really going to be able to determine what's happening, what's unfolding, and why. So let's get into 50% now. And again, on this RPO, what we find here is it's more of a designed run, of course, where they've been doing that a lot. They, being the Chicago Bears, have been doing that a lot with Justin Fields, particularly here in the let's call it probably after week 3 or 4, maybe, of this season. We've seen more encouragement, more intention, more strategic change from the offensive coordination of the Chicago Bears in putting Justin Fields in a position where his skill set can be put to use. But let's look at this first 1v1 interaction, and there's going to be a number of levels or layers to this, as I've already alluded to. So we have Fields here, number 1, against this defender, number 25. And this defender in number 25 is really not to be envied, because this is a hard task and a hard sell with this amount of space and putting Justin Fields in a 1v1 interaction. We can already see that he being 25, is respecting Justin Fields' capabilities of being able to get to the edge and move in a way that most quarterbacks simply cannot. And we're talking about just a few that have this capability of doing this, being able to get to the edge, make someone miss, run past someone. There are only, let's call it, probably 4-ish types of quarterbacks who behave like a running back would when they get in these 1v1 interactions, being able to beat you with speed to the edge, and a defender has to respect that, or being able to beat you with more evasive agility, shake them, make a miss type ability. We have Justin Fields, we have a Lamar Jackson, we have a Kyler Murray, maybe even Jalen Hurts, or potentially then maybe a Josh Allen in his own unique and special way, just simply because of his authentic action capabilities. But I digress. We can find here that this defender, where I've drawn those arrows, has to respect that ability for Justin Fields to be able to beat him in a number of different ways. And so that's why I say that with number 25, we can't really envy his position here. You can see he's already stopped and settled his feet. He's committed himself to go even from right to left in this way, knowing as Justin Fields moves in this path, he has to try to close that gap. He, being 25, has to try to close that gap and keep that system more stable. And what I mean by that is keep the interpersonal distance, something that allows him to control for Fields in his ability to be able to go to the edge or move left or right. Hopefully that makes sense. But we can find that as he's coiled and loaded, as I move there in that kind of sway type of fashion, he's coiled and loaded, moving from right to left. He's already shown his cards as to where he's going to go, because he has to, with this amount of space out here where my mouse is circling. Okay. 25 knows that this is a 1v1 dyadic relationship and interaction. And again, he's at a disadvantage. We can already see it unfolding. When Justin Fields picks up how 25 is leaning, remember, these are all informational variables that the more skillful or dexterous performer is going to attempt to become attuned to, sensitive to. It could be interpersonal distance, like we usually talk about, that interpersonal distance. How is this relationship between the two of them changing as the two interact with one another? But in this case, I would propose or hypothesize that the key candidate control parameter for that Justin Fields is really orienting his sensitivity of his perceptual degrees of freedom around is biomechanical or postural characteristics of the immediate defender. So when he sees 25 lean from right to left in this hard slicing action, he knows that that creates an opportunity or affordance to move back to his left. Okay, so hopefully that makes some sense. Right now, Justin Fields, if he is picking up this information about 25, he knows that that creates a lane to move to Fields' left, the defender's right. Hopefully, again, that makes some sense. And we see that right here, right now, he's about to load and coil this right foot in the ground immediately after that. Okay, so this is a closely intertwined, interwoven relationship. What is one perceiving? How do my intentions change? How do I aim to act in a different way? And ultimately, then how do I organize my actions, right? The more skillful performer, as we talk about here at Football Beyond the Stats and our movement play of the week through this problem solver paradigm, that relationship becomes more and more tightly intertwined and coupled with one another. What am I picking up? How do I act? As I act, what more do I pick up? Perceive to act, act to perceive, right? So we watch this interaction and it is slick. Once he throws that right foot into the ground, look at the action that we find here. Oops, I was going to get my circle out. Look at this position right here from 25 now. Like he's thrown his own right foot down to try and coil and come back inwards, but it's just too late. He's already has him dead to rights. There's no way for him to move back into this space, back into that gap to get anything more than just a hand on Justin Fields. And when Justin Fields sees this opportunity, he acts without hesitation. Let's go back a frame or two, and I don't want you to miss this. Slices that foot into the ground, and he's right into acceleration. We can see it from the position because he now wants to eat up some grass, right? Look at this right here. He's looking ahead and finding there is a ton of green grass. This affordance has emerged, and I need to act in a way that I'm able to maybe get some yards in a quick hurry. It's 2nd and 11. And that movement problem that lays out in front of me is going to change awfully quick. Okay. And so he gets into his acceleration mechanics here, but 25, like I said, does get a bit of a hand on his right ankle, which slows him down ever so slightly. But even so, we see Fields as he regains his balance. Look at him right here and think about the opportunity landscape or the affordance landscape, right? There's a bunch of different opportunities that are going to be inviting or calling for him to act in different ways here. First and foremost, we can imagine that what he could be picking up is going to be a gap that exists here. There could be this gap that exists here, okay? So gap affordance-based control. We could also think about his attunement and sensitivity to this dyadic relationship. Potentially, if he scans to his right, he could see a defender here, or he could then look even deeper to what might exist. And I didn't want to draw it there, but more so like that. Okay, what exists back behind this next immediate threat, which would usually take place from this immediate defender or opponent. Okay, again, there's authenticity here, but there's also degrees of freedom perceptually. And as he picks it up, depending on when he picks it up, knowing that affordances are individual and frame dependent, when he picks up that information, specifying those affordances matters. Okay. And so we can only speculate right here, guys and gals, as to what he might be gathering. But watch as this unfolds now. He sets up this next immediate defender, number 20, pretty early. So I would speculate that there are two things that he is connecting to perceptually here, and that then channels into his intentions and his actions. It would be, for me, this dyadic relationship here, okay, as well as then what exists right immediately beyond. Remember, as Gibson told us, the skilled perceiver not only begins to perceive more with more width, but more so depth as well, deeper and longer into the movement problem. He gets what he needs from this dyadic relationship, and he knows he has a blocker there with some affordances to what would be Justin Fields' left-hand side as he perceives or picks up this affordance landscape. Now watch him close this space and just act in a way that looks subtle to us from this perspective. But wait till we watch it again in slow motion from the other view. You're going to see how nuanced this actually is. So let's go ahead and move on layer by layer here. This is those successive affordances. He moves on because he knows that the next movement problem, the next local movement problem, remember it's local problem by local problem in this layered successive type of affordance action, right? Or affordance perception in action, rather. So he's able to move past this next relationship and really get himself up onto the next one, which he knows is going to be a make or break type of event to him, not only picking up the first down marker, which, as we can see, based on our good yellow line here from Fox Sports, lies right here on the 45-yard line. But Justin Fields, as the true playmaker that he is, doesn't have just this local intention to pick up the first down. That's certainly shaping how he's acting, but the more skillful or explosive playmaker is thinking one thing and pretty much one thing only right now. It isn't about the first down. It's about, how do I turn this into a big play? On the feet being 20 plus yards, right? And that's what Justin Fields right now, in my opinion, is likely orienting his perceptions, intentions, and actions around. So we see, if we can hypothesize, we can look at what he's looking to and what he might be seeing. Remember, when we attempt to tell this movement problem solving story, it's about putting ourselves in the perceptions, intentions, and actions of the respective performer. Fields likely, again, is attuned to, sensitive to, perceptually connected to a number of informational sources in combination. Okay. It's not just about this dyadic relationship. It is about the gap to the left and to the right as well to it. Okay. Makes some sense. As well as then what exists deeper and beyond it. Justin Fields isn't so much this periphery type of mover, and say maybe in the form of a Lamar Jackson might be in some of these cases. A lot of times he is perceiving depth, at least from what I've seen of him and what I speculate about how he's organizing his perceptual degrees of freedom. Now, we do see him look left and right occasionally, as we will once he gets in the open field. But when it's more within traffic, as it is slightly right now, he is perceiving with depth in most cases. And again, that's about authentic degrees of freedom, the authentic degrees of freedom problem here. So he's connecting to this, and he attacks right into the defender to essentially, and you'll see it more when we get into the other view. It's not going to look like he's doing it here until we see it from the other view. But look at him right there. He makes it look as though with this defender right here, who I don't believe actually picks up number 13 until it's too late. He doesn't realize that there's a teammate of Justin Fields that's about to shield him off and block him from his path. So he thinks Justin Fields is running essentially right now, right at him. And he's doing this, even if this teammate right here, this Chicago Bear, wasn't there. It's likely that Justin Fields would attack straight at that defender to give himself a two-way go to go right or left, as well as then the opportunity to act in any number of ways. A power cut, a speed cut, maybe a crossover or a spin or some sort of other novel action. What we're going to find from these more dynamic movers is particularly those who have the keys of the car, like Justin Fields does in this case. He has great ownership. He is able to coordinate a wide variety of ways of interacting. They will run right at a defender until they have to act, until they pick up the information from the defender's movement actions that tells them, or informs them rather, as to the most inviting opportunity. Hopefully that makes some sense. But in this case, Fields does have that shield that is created by number 13, his own teammate. Okay. Again, hopefully all of this makes some sense. And once he hits this gap, we can see he hits the gas pedal and does not hesitate. Okay. Watch him go right into those acceleration mechanics, but yet looking left and right, right to left, as I told you earlier, that head keeps on going. And I know that this is a horse that I end up beating on, a dead horse at that, because I see way too many people talk about playmakers in space and staying in this tunnel, looking only north and south. But that's not what we find from the more skillful, dexterous movers on an NFL Sunday. Instead, what we find from them is they do, when they get in the open field, keep looking for threats, keep ensuring that they get an update of the world and what's unfolding out there so they can change the coordination, control, and regulation of their actions accordingly. Let's watch this one more time through before we get into the other viewpoint. Okay. So hits those acceleration mechanics and he hits high speeds in a hurry. I think he hit almost 21 miles per hour on this respective run. And of course, no one on the Green Bay Packers defense is going to be able to keep up with him in this case. And obviously, like I said earlier, he has earned every right to show that swag along with good old Staley, the Chicago Bears mascot, that he is one of the premier problem solvers in all the National Football League. So as we look at it from this view now, we're going to be able to see some other subtleties, some other nuances, some other things that I want to point out that I already have pointed out, but that we can see with greater clarity and make certain hypotheses or speculation around. Okay. Remember what I said earlier about this relationship here, number 25, in this 1v1 dyadic relationship. These 1v1 situation, guys and gals, if you are a football trainer, coach, position coach for an offensive skill position or a defensive skill position for that matter, if you're a sport movement specialist operating within American football, if you're a strength and conditioning professional operating within American football, there is no excuse for you to continue to do your cone drills, your change of direction drills in the traditional sort, where it's isolated and decontextualized. These types of 1v1 movement problem and solution dynamics, you can set up really easily, and you get actions that have fidelity to the game if you were to set up these 1v1 type of scenarios and situations in your practice, training, and learning environment. There is no excuse for you not to do it. Point, period, blank. Sorry, I'm fired up now. But what we find here is Justin Fields is very attuned, very intentional, and very adaptable in these situations. Oops, I got myself so fired up, I'm just hitting buttons now. But watch him here already, and if you can look past the red line that, or excuse me, the yellow line that Fox Sports has, you can see, again, we can make this speculation that Justin Fields is connected and sensitive to the upcoming threat. And as he's doing that, numerous informational sources and variables that are going to be highly specifying to him. Interpersonal distance, relative velocity values, bearing angle, meaning how is my angle changing to that which what number 25 is. And then most importantly, at least for me in this respective problem, would be the posture and mechanics or kinematics, the characteristics biomechanically that are being shown from number 25. Okay, in these 1v1 scenarios. And right now, Justin Fields could be the most skillful 1v1 problem solver in all the league. You know, I've talked and given that crown to Saquon Barkley in years past, Lamar Jackson in years past, Kyler Murray to a certain degree in years past. But right now, Justin Fields is certainly in that conversation when we're talking about 1v1 movement problems. And we can see it right here. He puts 25 on a string and then on his poster, because once he sees him move, as I told you guys earlier, from right to left, let's watch 25's behaviors. Okay. He's coiled, puts that right foot out to the ground. 25 does that, leans from right to left, and watch now, behavior affords behavior. Justin Fields, his next movement action, that right foot of his own, is coiling in a way that is adapted and matched to meet the needs of the problem. He isn't going around a slalom cone drill here, or a cone drill with that we would typically see being utilized in traditional football preparation worlds, right? He doesn't need to do that. What he needs to do is adapt the movement actions to meet the needs of the problem. But in order to adapt the movement actions to meet the needs of the problem, he has to be attuned and sensitive to what the problem disposition contains. How is 25 behaving? Okay, I digress. Now we see again what he might be sensitive to. Remember, I mentioned earlier, Justin Fields, usually not right here tunnel vision, but more so right here tunnel vision. Okay, think of it like in this type of fashion. He's getting deeper and deeper and deeper, but a tad wider as he gains depth in that perception. So it isn't just in this relationship. As you look at my mouse with his own teammate number 18, he likely is looking deeper than that. What space is afforded to me? What else might be out there? Okay. And how is that world in its landscape of opportunities calling and inviting me to act? Okay. And we see that Justin Fields, and of course his action capabilities allow for him to do so. He stays at ownership speed until he has to hit that gas pedal. But look at him now. He just pulls this defender to a place where this defender gets stopped and gets guarded and walled off. So Justin Fields, again, doesn't act until he has to make the decisive action to move towards his left. But once he does, attuned and sensitive. Next movement problem, local problem by local problem, highly layered movement problem solving. And where are the threats out there? Obviously, the next one is Adrian Amos, number 31 here, safety for the Green Bay Packers. And 31 has no idea that this Chicago Bear teammate seems to be coming and entering the mix either, because he is worried. He, being Amos, number 31, is worried right here, right now, especially with this type of interpersonal distance that is between the two of them, and Justin Fields 8, 9, 10 yards away, able to be in control and have ownership of this dyadic relationship for ultimately a two-way go to go to the left or to the right. Okay, makes some sense, of Amos, but Amos has no idea yet again that this guy is coming too. Justin Fields, however, obviously can see all that and see that clearly. Okay. And he uses that to set Amos up here in the open field. And he runs straight at him. So he moves enough to not get him sort of like looking or seeing anything out of his periphery, him being 31 Amos, and then Fields just moves into that gap. And once he does, obviously, he's into that gas pedal. Step 1, 2, and 3 happen in a hiccup, and he's off to the races. So let's see this unfold yet again, one more time, at 50% speed. And hopefully you guys are seeing things and what it is that's leading to the emergence of this phenomenal movement solution that is highly integrated, highly intertwined from perceptions, cognitions, and actions. And again, when he gets into the open field, watch the left to right glance over his shoulder, constantly updating what's out there. Where are the threats? What are they doing? How are they acting? Do I have to change my own actions as he just trots on in to the end zone? Obviously, guys and gals, I was highly impressed by that, which what Justin Fields did this week against the Green Bay Packers in week 13, but also what he's been doing across the entirety of the National Football League season. So even though the Chicago Bears now sitting at whatever 3-8 or 3-9, whatever they're at, are already out of the playoff race, hopefully we see Justin Fields just continue to grow, just continue to evolve, continue to find that most authentic and functional fit to the problems of his world, not only on his feet, but also with his arm as well. And I think that is coming because obviously he has talents and gifts that are now being expressed within the skill that we see within highly complex movement problems, but truly layered movement problem solving that he put on display and exhibited for us this week in week 13 of the 2022 National Football League season. Again, hopefully some of this makes some sense, particularly how we might be able to assist in the facilitation of this type of skillful interactions for the players that we work with. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you like this video, give me the thumbs up, hit subscribe, share it on social media. Let's keep the momentum going here as we wind down the 2022 National Football League season. I'm Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, and for Football Beyond the Stats and our Movement Play of the Week, I will talk to you guys in week 14.